Welcome to the Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast with your hosts, Josh Kimmel, Dave Campbell, and Justin Bowerly.
Welcome into Once Upon a Sunday Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. Tonight, you know how we do it on Wednesday nights. We bring you our starts and sits, situational players, not this Saquon versus Bijan, who are you going to start? No, situational start sits. That's what we bring to you every single Wednesday night at 7:30 Eastern. Now, we used to be 8 o'clock. We moved it to 7:30, and there's a petition to move it to noon. There's a petition, and we got 2 people on board already. So if you're on board with that, you like those noon shows, please jump in the comments and demand it, and we will move the show to noon. Before I keep on rambling, and I don't know if anyone can hear me because last time I went solo, nobody heard me. Let's bring in Justin Bowerly, my co-host, my buddy. Can you hear me? Oh, my God.
I'm just kidding with you.
He is the Jim Halpert of the show, the bully, the jerk, as I'm just the night. I'm perceived all over social media and all over just the fantasy. And I'm a jerk. But in reality, this is the biggest jerk in the world over here, this side.
I had to make that joke, obviously, because it was too hard to pass up.
That's what she said.
But yeah, noon, maybe noon on Wednesday. Like all shows are at noon. That would be a lot of fun. Lunchtime hour with Josh and Justin. That would be fun.
Afternoon delight, man. Let's get it going. What? No. Okay, we're not gonna roll with that, but we're gonna roll with
having an afternoon delight. I'm sorry.
But we are going to roll with some players tonight, so we don't want to keep you waiting. Before we get into our start situations, we got some news, some breaking news, some important news. So, Justin, I'm gonna pass along to you.
Yeah, so our fantasy news here, our first one here, Nick Chubb is designated to return to practice this week. He's coming off the PUP list, off that gruesome knee injury last year. Hopefully, Nick Chubb can be the Nick Chubb that we all know and love. I drafted Nick Chubb in way too many leagues this year, put him immediately on the IR, and then drafted Jerome Ford. So hopefully, all things lead to Nick Chubb being Nick Chubb again. Colts news, Jonathan Taylor and Anthony Richardson did not practice today. I did not expect them to practice today with their 2 injuries. Mentioned yesterday, JT is dealing with a high ankle sprain and Richardson is still dealing with this hip. So Malik Neighbors did not practice today. Joe Mixon did not practice today. Christian Watson will not be placed on IR, but he obviously did not practice today. George Kittle did not practice today. I'm just going through the list of everything on our.
Does anyone practice on Wednesdays? Does anyone practice on Wednesdays?
Wednesdays is normally a practice day.
All right, I'm just asking because no one's practicing. We're talking about practice. I'm waiting for.
We're talking about practice. Yeah. Brian Robinson Jr. no practice. However, Austin Eckler was limited. And Devontae Adams was ruled out in week 5 for a hamstring, aka he wants out of there.
Okay.
And Zamir White went down with a groin injury, so Alexander Madison season.
Nobody cares about Zamir White, but the more importantly thing is Devontae Adams. And it was said on the show, and it was said on multiple shows that Adams, this hamstring injury was kind of weird, funky to me. Mm-hmm. It seems like, and one of our listeners, I talked to him today. I said, if this doesn't scream who, the coach was calling out of making business decisions, like it was aimed towards certain players, and maybe certain players
he's talking about.
Maybe certain players didn't like that. And as soon as he was out, like announced out, I said, well, he's not injured. He's being punished.
No.
And that's just my thought. That was my first thought. And it still is my thought. Now, is he going to get traded? What do people want from him? We hear, people they're asking for a second and more.
It's interesting because Devontae Adams was such a big proponent of Antonio Pierce being hired as the head coach. He basically said, you guys have to hire Antonio Pierce. And now there's something wrong in that locker room. I don't know, just he wants to compete. He wants a Super Bowl. Obviously, he's one of the best wide receivers in the league. He wants to be able to compete for a ring, and he doesn't feel like he can get that with the Raiders. They traded away Derek Carr. They literally did not replace Derek Carr with an elite talent quarterback. They got Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. He wants to play with the guys he's played for. The rumor mill is that the Saints and the Jets are the two leading candidates for making this trade, which shockingly are two quarterbacks that he has played with in his career. So be that what you will. The Chiefs are not in play like everybody would assume that they would be. They already said no. It's a divisional rival. They're not trading Devontae Adams to a divisional rival. So I could see the Jets over the Saints. The Jets, both of them have great they have good wide receivers already in house. So adding Devontae Adams makes an extra push. I don't know that I like it for the Garrett Wilson shares already, and also the Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed shares as well. So this will be interesting news. This will be breaking news as soon as it comes out. Like, this will shock a lot of. This will change the fantasy landscape.
I agree with everything you said, and I do think that there's a lot of people out there who play fantasy football who are coming up with fantasies in their minds of, oh, he's going to go for a first round pick, or he can go to the Chiefs, or he belongs on the Ravens. All these sound great, right? They're all the same old, same old. The Chiefs have how many since Tyreek's left? How many rumors? Oh, this person should go to the Chiefs. Well, bottom line is they're not really in the cap space to do this, and it's a division rival. So, Justin, you're right.
Well, and the Chiefs never bring in they don't bring in the top tier talent. They draft this talent, and then they sign people through free agency. They don't go out and trade for these people.
I
And
mean,
that's the
this is
thing that a lot of people forget about is that they drafted Tyreek Hill, they drafted Patrick Mahomes, they drafted all of these players. They're not going to go out and trade for a Devontae Adams, a Tyreek Hill again.
Is it fair to change your mindset on that? As in, we do live in a new era where midseason trades do happen, and it used to never happen. It used to be, oh, trade deadline's coming. Okay, nobody cares. And then about 4 or 5 years ago, all of a sudden, we're seeing these huge trades in the middle of the season. And I was like, nah, wide receivers changing teams mid never works out. And they didn't at first. And then all of a sudden, like, oh, they can change teams mid. Like, this can work like like baseball or basketball or hockey, because football is so complex, right? You can't, there's so many different terms they need to new offenses.
Playbook is different.
Yep.
Yeah, it's
whereas baseball, you just go pick up a bat and hit. Basketball, you just pick up a ball and shoot.
I feel like
football's way different.
Yeah, wide receiver and running back, I feel like are two positions where it's like you run that way. Like, just run this route. Like, that's the hard part is the audibles. Like, you got to figure out all of that language, but the NFL is getting to a point where like you're changing that every week anyway. Like, it doesn't really matter.
So for fantasy wise, you obviously, if you drafted Devontae Adams, it was like around the second, third round. And now he's stuck on your bench until he is moved, because I don't think he plays for the Raiders ever again. Unfortunately. So now we're in a spot where we have to wait. And now he's eating up a roster spot. And there's nothing you could do about it. And right now, if you're 1-3, 0-4, and he's just eating up a spot, my suggestion is, and it should have been all along, is to try to find someone to trade him that can hold on. Go to the four. Look, it's very simple. Just go to the very first person on your standings and go, hey, do you need a wide receiver? And then go down to 2, then go down to 3, then go down to 4, and just work your way down the ladder until someone accepts. Because some people will go, well, Josh, why would you want to give the number one team a great receiver? Well, what's that great receiver doing for you right now? You need to survive. You're 0-4, you're 1-3. At this point, Devontae Adams is not helping your football team, your fantasy football team, win games. So if you're a bottom of the barrel team, you can't wait till week 7 because you're done already. It's a week-to-week game at this point if you're that low, if you're down bad. So you got to move on. And if your waiver wire is cleared and for some reason no one picked up Trey Tucker, you need to go swoop him up right now. Just go check your league. Everyone watching right now, just check your league just to make sure. Because most of you are the people who we're aiming towards are the casual player, the player who's not in 15 to 20 leagues, the player who's in maybe 1 work league or 2 family leagues, whatever it may be. They may not know the news, so go check that out. Go make sure if he's on the waiver wire, go pick him up for free right now. You just won. It's awesome.
I got Trey Tucker for free today.
Yeah. And he's not, it's a splash. It's a dart throw, right? He could be nothing, but he showed out last week and he did really well. He looked really fast. He looked explosive. So this is
Trey
good news
Tucker,
for Trey Tucker.
yeah, Trey Tucker is my one candidate or my one player that's outside of the top 100 in flex rankings this week that I think could be a top 40 player this week. So,
Yes, you're right. I agree with you on that. All right, so let's get on to the starts and sits. Let's ignore that comment because
yes,
yes.
I hate you, Wingate.
Although I told you guys, I told all y'all don't listen to Justin on that, but we still had a funeral. That's right. We buried him. Oh, we're starting with our
How
first.
to end a conversation.
Okay. We're starting our first start sit situation with Patrick Mahomes, who you may have rostered and drafted in the 5th, 6th round, versus Geno Smith, who's been absolutely fire with the Seattle Seahawks. It might be crazy. It might be asinine. It might be psychotic to bench Patrick Mahomes. But at this point, Justin, what are we doing?
Dude, I was looking through the lineups on Monday and all the matchups and everything, and I was like, you know what? Like, I was like, okay, Geno Smith has been consistently up there. He's been doing really well this year. I was like, who's around his range? And I was like, you know what? Patrick Mahomes isn't having the greatest season. I mean, he's not scored more than 18 points in a fantasy in a week period this year so far. 17.3 is his most against Atlanta in week 3. And now he's going to go up against New Orleans, who has a pretty decent secondary. They have a pretty decent defense. Like, it is a tough matchup this week for the Chiefs against them. And then on the flip side, you got Geno Smith going up against the New York Giants at home. A lot of people might be surprised by this, but it's week 5. Like, at the start of the season, we say start your studs. That's who you drafted. Play the guys that we know they're supposed to be. And maybe Patrick Mahomes does rise to the occasion this week. But down Rashee Rice, down Isaiah Pacheco. Now you have Kelsey, who now can just be double covered, period, because who else are they going to throw the ball to? Justin Watson, who I saw you pick up in waivers this week, by the way.
Unfortunately.
Or do you got Geno on the other side, who's got DK, Tyler Lockett, JSN, Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. He's got an entire loaded offense right now. I lean towards Geno Smith this week. He's got the easier matchup. He's done better. He's ranked higher. And it's earlier in the week. I mean, like, that doesn't really matter. It's a 4 p.m. Eastern game over the Monday night game with the Chiefs. That's the only kicker, is that the Chiefs are playing on Monday night and they always play well in prime time. But I think I do lean Geno Smith this week.
I'm not going to argue with you too much about this because it seems like Geno Smith is a smarter play going against the New York Giants. It can be had, or that could be an ugly matchup. We don't know. It could be. This is a new Seahawks offense. We're seeing a lot of more explosive plays. DK Metcalf is getting open. Kenneth Walker is balling out. If he continues to do that, is Geno going to really excel? And then you look on the other side, Patrick Mahomes. This reminds me of, although this is earlier in his career, where remember when, and maybe you don't because you're young, remember when Aaron Rodgers went through Aaron Rodgers is a streaming quarterback era. I remember that because I said this on the show. I said this guy was a streaming quarterback. 2018, 2019, he finished outside the top 10 both years in fantasy. And that was just a blimp. Like, okay, Aaron Rodgers is still the GOAT, but he doesn't need to throw for 40 touchdowns and 5,000 yards to win football games. And I think that's where Patrick Mahomes is at in his career, where they're just trying to win football games. They're just trying to win Super Bowls. They're just trying not to be stressed out because, like I was told from a broadcaster, I thought having no rings was stressful. So Patrick Mahomes just cares about winning, and rings and stats can go away. He's fine handing the ball off to Isaiah Pacheco when he was there, and now Kareem Hunt. He's okay with peppering the ball to Christian Watson if he's open. Christian Watson, is that his name? Is that his name? What's his name? Who's the Watson? Justin Watson. Justin
You're
Watson over there.
Christian Watson and Green
yeah,
Bay.
that bum over. There's 2 bums named Watson, and one plays for the Chiefs.
Well, there's 3, but
who's the third?
He plays for the Browns.
Oh, I'm talking about receivers. I don't care. Oh, you're right. There's another guy. But the thing is Patrick Mahomes, he's not going to need to throw the ball a million times and for 3,000 yards or 350 yards a game to win games anymore. That's just not how they're set up. So I'm starting Geno Smith. Geno to me is this. It's gonna sound weird because Mahomes is usually the safer one,
Safer bet.
but
At this
Geno's
point in the season, it's the safer bet. Mahomes he's tied for the second most turnover worthy plays with 7 this season. He's only behind Jalen Hurts. Who would have thought that Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts could be side by side in a negative context? Like, who would have thought that at the beginning of the season? Not me, not this guy, but that's the fact. That's where we are right now. Patrick Mahomes and Anthony Richardson are tied for second in the most turnover worthy plays this season through 4 weeks.
Yep. Yeah, and when you lose your top talent, Rashee Rice was his top talent. And we do have questions in the chat regarding that. That's hard to overcome. Take any quarterback and take their top talent away. That quarterback's going to struggle. We saw it happen when Devontae Adams left Aaron Rodgers. He struggled for a couple of years. It just happens. So is Kelsey going to be the Kelsey from 2019 through 2020, 21? I don't think he is. And who else? We've seen the Juju.
He had that week, but he had a week.
We've seen the Juju show. We've seen the Sky Moore show. We've seen it all.
McCole Hardman, like all of these players are still there. They still win the Super Bowl, but like none of them are fantasy relevant except for Travis Kelce. And when defenses know that, I mean, look at what they've already done to Travis Kelce this year so far. They've been able to lock him down until they played the Chargers, which they own the Chargers, so it doesn't really matter. That's beside the point. Like Kelsey's going to be bracketed more than Mark Andrews, I feel like, at this point. Like they have to take Kelce out of the game, and if they take Kelce out of the game, there is no Mahomes.
I mean, there is a situation where Worthy can catch, an 80-yard bomb. Yeah, Worthy's a wild card here, honestly. If Worthy becomes the next big thing over there and he is actually good at football and he can catch the ball and secure it and run routes and do anything but just run fast, I think Mahomes has a good chance of being that top talent guy. But at the moment, and especially for what you paid for him in the draft, it's looking like a loss because I don't feel comfortable starting Mahomes. He gives you no rushing upside. Again, he's not going to throw him for 3 touchdowns a game anymore. And it's just a lost cause. So if you could find somebody, and this is more of a season thing, try to flip them. Try to downgrade a little bit, or downgrade it in their eyes. Like, hey, I'm giving you Mahomes and like Bucky Irvin. Let me get Jalen Hurts on a buy. Or let me get someone like that who can provide you more upside. Because they're going to look at that and go, oh, Mahomes, and you're giving me like this little nice piece. I'm not saying Bucky Irvin. This is an example. It could be anyone. Like Christian Kirk. Hey, I'm giving you an equal quarterback value, plus you're getting a positional player. And then you're getting out of the Mahomes business and you're upgrading that quarterback. I would do it tenfold, just to let everyone know.
Yep. So we have a question. Who wants to know if we answer questions on this show, which we always answer questions, so feel free to pepper us with questions. But lost Rashee Rice, looking to trade for wide receiver value. What do you think of Saquon and Chase for Tyreek, Kyren, and Debo? I thought about this, and I like whatever side is getting Saquon and Chase at this point because Tyreek won't have Tua for at least until week 8, which is 4 more weeks. Kyren is okay, but I prefer Saquon over Kyren at this point, and Debo's nice, but like I don't feel like anybody in that offense right now is clicking. I prefer Saquon and Chase. They're both killing it this year at this point.
Okay, so it says,
I can't believe I've been saying that.
Hold on. I'm breaking this down because it says, Marlon, I'm a big Fortnite player too, Marlon. Hit me up. Fish Sticks is the man. I would say, so I don't know what side you're getting. It says, what do you think of Saquon and Chase for Tyreek, Kyren, and Debo? Seems like you're giving up Saquon and Chase. And if that's the situation, I say no.
Yeah, I think you're giving up Saquon and Chase because he's looking for wide receiver value, meaning he wants more wide receivers to replace Rice. But I think just hold where you are. Keep Saquon, keep Chase. Keep monitoring what's happening with Rashee Rice also. Usually an ACL tear is, boom, next day we have that news that he tore his ACL. That might not be the thing. We might be overreacting on this point, and even Jim Nantz in the broadcast said, I don't think that's the ACL. It didn't do the right thing or whatever. I don't know, but
there's so much risk in this trade. There's so much risk in this trade, as in this, and just hear me out. Saquon is greater than than anybody in this whole deal. Saquon is the number one player in this deal, and Chase is the number two player in this deal. So you're giving up the two best players in the deal for three guys who are very good, but Tyreek is very limited without Tua. We've seen his discomfort. Who knows if he's ever going to quit on that team, coming from a Dolphins supporter. And then if Tua does come back in week 8, and I don't wish this on anybody. I'm a big Tua guy. What if it happens again? And then pretty much Tyreek's season is good as dead. It's been good as dead since Tua has been out. Kyron, great. I don't see any problems. I was wrong. Yeah. I was wrong about Kyron all offseason. He's phenomenal. He is the truth. And Debo's on his way down. He's on the downside of his career, in my opinion. And I do think that there's a lot of problems in that situation over there in San Francisco. I think you're adding more risk than you want for what you already have. It's like you're giving up a mansion for a possibility of a yacht and a mansion, but you're not going to get that.
For trying to get wide receiver depth, I think Saquon and Kyron, they're playing at an unbelievable level right now. In fact, they're literally the same player in terms of fantasy. One is RB4, the other one is RB2, and I bet you couldn't even guess which one's which. But Jamar Chase, since T. Higgins has been back, since Chase has gotten back into football shape to play, he has been excellent. Like, I was wrong at this point. He's already top 12, and I hope I am wrong. Debo got hurt, and then he came back with a 10-point game. He could bounce back from that, or that could be his season, his 10-point games.
It just seems like, and this is just our social media guy, Sean, will get on me because he did in our chat. Seems like the 49ers are in shambles. And, well, they don't have an identity right now. Without CMC, they're identity-less. Did I say that right, Marlon? No, I just don't believe in Debo like most people do. So I'm sticking with my studs. That's period. And if you want wide receiver depth, go check out if Trey Tucker's out there on your waiver wire. I doubt he is. Just go check. Why not? Next, guys, we have running backs for the New York Football Giants, Devin Singletary versus Mr. Jaguar himself, Travis Etienne. Is Etienne even playing this week?
So here's the funny thing is Devin Singletary also did not practice today, and I just found this information out in our group chat. Thanks, news team. So this is the battle of if you have these two guys, which one are you starting? Because they both apparently have injury issues right now. Yeah.
This one's no question to me. This one's zero question to me. I'm leaning towards Etienne all the way. I think Etienne is the one that can get that team on track. Trevor is not the answer. And if Trevor can check it down to Etienne more often, and if Etienne can get going, and if he's healthy enough to play, he's my favorite person on that team. Now, you go to Devin Singletary. He's competing with Malik Neighbors in the red zone and in life, as Roman Reigns would say. And I do think that Wan'Dale Robinson is a very, very tough competition for opportunities because he is number 4 in the league in targets. Malik Neighbors is number 1. They are the Giants right now. They're the entire offense. Whereas Devin Singletary has been good. He's been nice. He's been very good for your football team. You know why people are liking Devin Singletary this year? Because they drafted him so late, and he's actually producing more than probably a Breece Hall at this point because we've seen Breece struggle. Breece. Who's been struggling? Breece has been struggling, right? Who's been struggling? There's Bijan. Bijan's been struggling. That's the guy I've been on the tip of my tongue. There's a lot of running backs out there that are just. Rashad White was drafted ahead of Devin Singletary. And how's Rashad White working out for you? Zamir White. All these running backs have just been complete bums. So Singletary actually looks nicer than he actually is. That being said, they're going against the Seattle Seahawks. You're going to think they're going to be in a throwing match with Geno Smith, who we just spoke about, with DK Metcalf and JSN and those guys. So we're looking at more targets if Malik Neighbors is able to play. We're looking at a big score here, in my opinion. We're looking at two teams that are going to air it out. And I don't think Singletary fits the mold for what you want to do, where Etienne is going to be that offense around the Colts, who we already established are terrible at stopping the rush. Last week, here's my theory, which the Dolphins can't get on this bandwagon. When a backup quarterback comes in the entire team goes from an F to an A plus. Panthers, Andy Dalton, Joe Flacco, and the Colts. When the Dolphins get their backup quarterback in, they go from an A plus to a you're expelled. I don't understand why they can't get on track. What's going on, man?
The Titans are another example from Will Levis to Mason Rudolph. So
what's going on, man? Why can't we have nice things?
And the sad part is that the Dolphins do have a offensive-minded head coach that is supposed to be like one of the best in the league. So
we're not talking about
I do agree with you though. Travis Etienne, I think, has the better opportunity. The Colts are like 0-9 in Jacksonville. I think they had more than that. The last time they won in Jacksonville was 2013. This is always Trevor Lawrence's best game of the season is against the Colts in Jacksonville. Not to say too much there, but I think Travis Etienne has the better matchup. They're both limited this week, so it's something that you're going to have to keep in mind. But Devin Singletary is going up against the Seahawks defense, which is tough. Travis Etienne is going up against the Colts defense, who now have 2 starters on IR on that defensive line. So that is tough. I would go Singletary. No, I'm sorry, Etienne all day. Etienne all day.
But you need to watch out who's playing and who's actually going to play this week because they're both. Would you play Tank Bigsby or Devin Singletary? That's a question.
Well, I guess the question actually should be Tank Bigsby or Tyrone Tracy.
Well, no, but I know. But I'm assuming. Hold on, you messed up my
Singletary
game.
plays and Etienne.
You messed up my game. You messed up my freaking game. Would you start Tank Bigsby or Devin Singletary if Singletary's healthy and Etienne can't go?
I would start Tank Bigsby. He scored 9 points against Houston last week in Etienne's absence.
All right. Would you play the Giants bum backup running back or would you play Etienne?
I would play Travis Etienne.
So it's the Jaguars no matter what. We're riding with the Jags.
And that's coming from that fandom right there. So.
No one can see that mini helmet. They think you're pointing at me because I wore that Gardner Minshew jersey one time.
No.
And one guy thought I was wearing Trevor Lawrence, which I would never wear a Trevor Lawrence jersey.
That helmet right there, the Colts helmet. So, yeah, I would start the Jaguars running backs in this situation.
If you see me looking around, it's because I need my prop. Because we got an excellent matchup for you next.
I love cutting you off sometimes.
It's the best. So we got Jalen Waddle going against the Jaguar. Wait, hold on. I'm so confused by this overlay right now, but it's okay.
What's confusing about it? Michael Pittman Jr., the Colts versus Jacksonville.
I'm just confused. I'm just confused because in my eyes, they're all messed up. But Jalen Waddle's going against the New England Patriots. In my eyes, do you see this eye? Do you see this eye?
Nothing is wrong with the overlay below us.
In my eyes, it's wrong. And Michael Pittman Jr., because it doesn't say Mr. Unlimited.
Would you like to restart this segment for our short?
No, I would not. Because Michael Pittman Jr. is going against the Jaguars, who you just said they cannot win. They suck. They stink. And if AR5 is back on the field, I'm curious. Are you starting Mr. Limited, Michael Pittman Jr.? Are you starting Jalen Waddle, who has no quarterback play whatsoever?
I would go with Michael Pittman. Just looking at the last year's stats in Jacksonville week 6, Michael Pittman scored 19.9 points. Now that was with Gardner Minshew in his first game as the starting quarterback, so we don't know what that actually means. But he did score 19.9. He didn't play in 2022. I'm trying to go back a couple years just to see how he played, and he scored 20.4 in 2021. So he does well. Like Michael Pittman Jr. does well in Jacksonville. It's like T.Y. Hilton going to Houston. He always plays well there for the Colts. So I go with Michael Pittman. He actually has a quarterback, whether that be Flacco or Richardson. Richardson and Pittman did find each other in the first 2 drives of last week. Jalen Waddle has who? Like Tyreek Hill can't even do well in Miami right now. Why would Jalen Waddle do anything? So I don't even need to read you stats. I would just go with Pittman at this point. I
love the fact that I don't even need to read you stats, which is true. if you have a situation where Michael Pittman is going against a divisional foe who he recognizes and who he's can play well against, then Michael Pittman might be the clear path. And it's the total opposite with the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins. Patriots, for some reason, own the Dolphins. Matter of fact, everyone owns the Dolphins these days. So Jalen Waddle is just a non-factor because of the quarterback play. Single-digit fantasy points in the last 3 weeks. And if you see me struggling, it's because I'm trying to find the last time this man scored over 20 points in a single game dating back to last season. I don't see it. I can't find it. Oh, week 15. Week 15. There it is. And then he did again in week 8.
Yeah.
This
almost week 12. But yeah, he doesn't score more than 20.
And he's scoring a lot of single-digit games, and he's Mr. Phased out of the offense because Tyreek is there. Like, whenever Tyreek signed, I was a big proponent of, wow, they're both going to put up 12 to 1,500 yards each. And that wasn't the case, and it hasn't been the case. And that's even with Tua there. Jalen Waddle, I've been quietly been on the bandwagon of I need to get him off of my dynasty rosters, and I need to get him out of my life because he is second fiddle. We talk trash about T. Higgins here. We do. And there's a reason for it. But T. Higgins way outperforms Mr. Jalen Waddle. And you can go look at the numbers. I don't need to read them off to you. It's a fact of life. And T. Higgins was getting drafted like wide receiver 43, wide receiver 48, whereas Jalen Waddle is still in the top 20. And I just could not fathom it. I could not understand it. So now we're in a situation where Jalen Waddle, week 1 against the Jaguars, had a decent game, 16 points, right? He was involved. And even before Tua got hurt, he got phased out. He's just a secondary player for them right now. I don't know if that says anything about the coaching staff or how they want to use Waddle or if he's always hurt. But I will say this. I've been benching Waddle since week 2. I started in week 1. Benched him after that because I wasn't happy with it. I wasn't happy with the performances. I have better players to start over him. Michael Pittman, it's so gross. But he's not going to be phased out. He's actually their number 1. So we're going from a number 1 receiver to a number 2 or third option. Etienne has probably more receiving yards than Jalen Waddle at this point. Michael Pittman in a runaway on this one, and I hate that we're agreeing. I hate that. Can we pick something that we did?
Show.
Can we pick something like? Can we do something controversial?
I mean, the nice thing is that we are being very decisive for our viewers, and they don't even have to think like, oh, well, Justin made a great point or Josh made a great point. It's just like, well, this is what it is,
Well, if I'm siding with this guy, then we might be going wrong because he's been cold. Just kidding. You've been okay. Cut me off. Do it.
I've been 12-5 every week in fantasy this year. So what are you again? Like you're.
I'm terrible.
Green a lot of
I'm terrible. I'm terrible this year, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat. Every player I thought was going to be good is just not being used, and it's unfair. And my CMC, they lied to me. I want refunds in all my leagues where I drafted CMC 101. And here we are to the tight ends. Literally the most irrelevant, mindless, just close your eyes, spin a wheel, land on a dude, and if he scores a touchdown, you're happy, and if he doesn't, you lost. Like at this point, that's how I feel about tight ends, even with the best of the best. We have a lot of tight ends out this week. We have Dallas Goedert out. We have Sam Laporta out. We have who else are the bye week players? There's 2 more teams, but those guys are out. Probably wouldn't start them anyway. But this week we're stuck with Dalton Schultz and Cole Kmet. And I don't know what to say about any of these because they're gross. Like this sucks. So like what? Gross. How can I tell you as a viewer to go, hey, I really think you should start Dalton Schultz this week. Like, don't worry about Tank Dell. Don't worry about Stephon Diggs. Don't worry about Nico Collins. Don't worry about any of those guys. Dalton Schultz is going to be the guy, especially if you play in first down catch leagues, right? Get that 0.25 per first down catch. What are we doing? Like, at the end of the day, it comes down to who's going to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
So who's scoring the touchdown, Justin?
I mean, kind of. Not necessarily. I mean, Schultz is 24th in the league in percentage of team targets, whereas Kmet is 12th in the league, so that's already better. Kmet is 3rd on his team in targets and 2nd in catches, whereas Schultz is 4th on his own team in targets and 3rd in catches. Stroud has a million targets to go to before Schultz. So does Caleb, to be fair. And Keenan Allen's been out for a while. So maybe these numbers actually line up more. But since Kmet's game against the Colts, that was a coming out party in my opinion. He did okay, I guess. Last week he was 3 for 3, but I lean towards Cole Kmet this week. Again, both of these are gross, but one's tied in 26, one is tied in 4. In a season where tight end 4 has this is a stat line is 1.4, 6.7, 25.7, 6.4. That makes you tight end 4 in the league. You go with what you can get, and that's Cole Kmet. I mean, he's out targeting Schultz. He's playing well. We've got the Texans going against Buffalo, which means Stephon Diggs is going to be heavily involved.
That's what we think.
We hope Stephon Diggs is heavily involved in this week. Whereas the Bears got Carolina, their best linebacker just got put on IR, and the linebackers generally cover the tight end a lot of times. So I'm going Cole Kmet here. I don't think Dalton Schultz is going to be really featured in this offense this week. He's been so abysmal. 6.4 is his best week. That is Cole Kmet's floor. So we got a ceiling coming up to the floor. Dalton Schultz is the first floor. Cole Kmet's already started on the second floor.
So you're right. You're right everywhere, except for I don't like his name. I don't like the way he spells it, and it's terrible.
He went to a great college though. So
oh, Butler. What?
No,
I don't know what Indiana college is. Where'd he go? Notre Dame. That's a terrible college. We talking about
school. That one right there.
Oh, you're a Notre Dame fan? I never knew that. Never knew that. Sorry, I guess. Right? Why don't you guys join a conference and be like a real football team?
I don't know, man.
Why do you guys always rank like top? Why do you guys always rank top 5 and always just suck? Like why?
Dude, all right. It's a lifetime of disappointment, man.
Chaco, we'll see your question. We're gonna answer in a second. I got to get to my Dalton Schultz monologue here.
We'll get to you in 5 minutes.
No, it's not gonna be even long. It's not gonna be long at all.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Because I'm starting Cole Kmet for all the reasons you said, and I hate that I have to agree with you, but I just traded for Dalton Schultz. Yes, I traded for Dalton Schultz. Ooh. Who did I give up? Mark Andrews, and I feel damn great about it. So I'm starting Dalton Schultz in many leagues because I have to. But if I had a choice, Cole Kmet, for everything you just said, you're right. His floor is Dalton Schultz's ceiling. Unless Dalton Schultz somehow gets into the end zone this week, he's going to disappoint. Nico is just too good. We were so wrong about Nico and Stephon Diggs and their usage. And it comes to find out that I'm okay with it because as long as they're scoring points and CJ Stroud scoring points and the whole team scoring points, I'm happy. I don't need Dalton Schultz to be this world beater for me to win my fantasy football leagues, but I need CJ Stroud and these other guys too. Schultz is replaceable. Cole Kmet has a place in that offense. Caleb Williams is getting him the ball. And let's be honest, Odunze is not, he's kind of not getting it done. Keenan Allen has been a non-factor. So out of default, you do need Cole Kmet this week. It's gross.
So our news team just broke it to me that Cole Kmet was also limited with a knee injury this week.
Dalton Schultz, baby, fire him up. I'm all in.
I'm still going Cole Kmet. I don't care. So this is the problem when you pick these players on Monday and all the news comes out on Wednesday. So
I usually didn't send them to you until like Wednesday morning. Just kidding.
I'm sorry. I was trying to make the show ready for the week because I'm going on vacation. So my bad.
Oh yeah, scheduling. No, it'll be me and Derek, host of Too Many Leagues, on Friday, breaking down every single league, every single matchup. If you have questions, please throw them in the chat on Friday. We'll be live at noon, so we'll have more clarity on these injuries and who's playing and who's not playing, who's in, who's out. So yeah, Friday at noon it'll be me and Derek, Justin. Yes, Justin will not be here. So that might lead people to stop watching if I say Justin's not going to be here, but it is what it is. I can't make that stuff up. When I'm off the show, we rise in subs. When I'm on the show, it's truth.
I hope you guys have like 300 people watching. That would please me because then I could
blow my mind.
I'd be like,
Let's
hey,
get
leave the
let's
show.
get to the questions.
Okay. So hey, would you trade away Garrett Wilson in return for Higgins, Brian Thomas Jr., and Travis Kelce in a PPR league? And I feel like I'm losing the best player in the trade, but getting good value. So Garrett Wilson for Higgins, Thomas Jr., and Kelce.
Yes. And here's why. Garrett Wilson has been very mediocre. We all agree he's the best player. He's been very mediocre in an offense where Aaron Rodgers doesn't look like the old Aaron Rodgers. He looks like 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers. And he's distributing the ball way too often to bums like Alan Lazard, who I gladly start. Um, and you're getting 3 players in return. Where T. Higgins, we just spoke about him. We're done with him. We don't like him. We hate him, actually. But he's still a decent option in a very good offense where he can take over games. So you have that. Brian Thomas Jr., he's one of the top 3 rookie wide receivers in this league, and he's just now getting started. The star power is there. I can definitely see a second half breakout where he is the number 1 target for Trevor Lawrence, and he actually does connect, and he does break out. I can see that. We see it. He's burnt many defensive backs already, talking trash to Jalen Ramsey week 1. Last week, we saw him just blow defensive backs away. I love Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Kelce. We've been saying on the show since day 1. He was a break glass in case of emergency player. Well, Rashee Rice went down, and he was the one running those soft zone routes that Kelce used to run. And as soon as he went down, what did we see? We saw Kelce had his best game of the season. Kelce wasn't doing that before Rashee Rice went down. He wasn't. Now, Kelce, I'm not saying Kelce's back, but I'm saying he is the top option now. He has to perform. He was like, okay, I'm here. I'm monitoring things. I get into the offense, but you don't really need to target me because you have these awesome players. I'm just here for the ride. I'm here to win. Here to help the team. Now he has to be relied on. I'm definitely okay getting Kelce back in this deal. I would take the 3 players because it's not like it's not like Garrett Wilson is Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra St. It's not like he's a top 5 guy. He's a very good guy. He's a top 24 guy who we want to be top 5. That's the thing, is we all have to remember, you are giving up the best player in our eyes. But is he the best player on paper? Is he the best player in the league? And is he the best player in your fantasy league? He's not. I bet you T. Higgins at the end of the day will be just a little bit of points away from Garrett Wilson, if not above or below. I could say about 0.5 points difference. I'm not saying it's true. I don't know. Just telling you, it could happen. So I'd rather take the risk on those 3 guys.
I think everybody should go buy a lottery ticket tonight because I agree with Josh. For all the things he said, Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be an elite wide receiver in this league, and he's a rookie. T. Higgins has only improved this week. He went from 6 points to 12 points. I expect that to go up as well. Jamar Chase will also go up. Travis Kelce is the only target now. There is no Rashee Rice anymore. I expect I think his numbers will average out to be about tight end 6, 7, or 8 this year, just because of how bad the position is. Garrett Wilson's doing absolutely nothing. Alan Lazard is Aaron Rodgers' favorite target on that team. And all of the studs that you absolutely thought you were going to have in New York, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, are doing nothing. They're going Braylon Allen, Alan Lazard. I would instantly like Higgins, Brian Thomas Jr., and Kelce.
Let's not say Breece is dead. He's scoring like 16 points a game.
He's not. He is doing great, but like it's so weird that Braylon Allen is becoming more featured, which is great.
He's not out snapping him yet. I don't think he ever will.
No, I don't think he will, but he is taking more of a workload off of Breece Hall, and I think it's because a lot of teams are going to the fact that like we don't need one guy to run 1,200 yards in a season. We need that potential 1,200 yard rusher in the playoffs healthy. So let's give the workload to more people.
And you got to look at the numbers. And again, Garrett Wilson went against some great Ladarius Sneed. He went against Patrick Surtain 2 out of the 4 weeks, right? That's Surtain shuts down every. I told y'all when they played the Buccaneers, do not start Mike Evans. Do not. It's the Surtain effect. and he just shut down Garrett Wilson. And he shut down Mike Evans. And he shut down every single receiver he played against. So that's just a fact of life. Garrett Wilson will rise, and Garrett Wilson will be great. It's just right now he has not produced. And if you're just waiting on someone to produce, we'll be waiting for a while unless, you got to do something now. And we spoke about that earlier on the show. If you're 0-4, 1-3, you're holding on to Devontae Adams or holding on to Garrett Wilson, you got to eventually make a move to someone who believes in him and get real assets and produce real fantasy points. Potential, projections, that's just a number we see on pieces of paper. Oh, he's projected to do this much. What's reality? Reality is right now 11 points. That's reality for Garrett Wilson.
Yeah. And Marlon is, he's back. Apparently he left. I don't know why he would leave, but he did. So he wants to know what the answer to his question was, which we could tell him to just go back and re-listen to the whole episode. But he said, to remind everybody, he lost to Rashee Rice. And what do we think about Saquon and Chase for Tyreek, Kyren, and Debo? And we said, if you were the person getting Saquon and Chase, yes.
Run.
But if
Run
you
away
are
with
giving,
it.
if you are giving up Saquon and Chase, absolutely not. You are not getting enough value out of Tyreek, Kyren, and Debo. Kyren and Saquon are basically the same running back this season, running back 2, running back 4, but Tyreek is missing Tua until week 8. He's not the same player without Tua. Debo was hurt. We don't know what's going on with that offense. It's broken. I don't get it. But Debo got 10 points after coming back from injury. He could do better. We don't know. But right now, Saquon and Chase are clear-cut the best players on that team.
You're literally giving a Cliff Notes version of what you said, like verbatim. Like you just gave your entire. I can't do that because I don't remember what I said, but I do remember.
No,
okay, I remember what I said. I remember saying take Saquon and Chase or keep them because of the 2 best players in the whole trade. 2 out of the top 5 players are Saquon and Chase. Keep the best players available. Period.
Absolutely. Unless
you're trading Garrett Wilson for T. Higgins, Travis Kelce, and Brian Thomas Jr. Yes. So we're going to wrap it up there. We're going to go ahead and probably play some college football tonight. Probably watch a little wrestling, AEW. I just bought Netflix. I'm a Netflix subscriber.
I have a lot of shows for you to watch.
I'm never watching your shows because the text you sent me about JD, I don't know who that is. I don't want to know who it is, but I'm surprised he didn't get fact checked. No, I'm not staying around for that. But you know what you should stay around for? Stay around for Friday. We'll be here at noon. Speaking of subscribers, which you messed up my transition, subscribe to the show. We're at 248 subscribers. We want to reach 250 by the weekend. I think we could do that with this show. So hit that like button, subscribe to the show. We'll be back Friday. I'll be back Friday. Justin will not. But don't worry, he'll be back Tuesday at noon to break down the waivers in the week that was your fantasy week. Have a wonderful night, guys. I'm out.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. Follow on X and Instagram at OUSFFPOD. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.